Introduction to Against the Gods, The Remarkable Story of Risk by Peter L. Bernstein. For centuries, humanity viewed the future as an unpredictable realm ruled by fate or divine will. In Against the Gods, The Remarkable Story of Risk, Peter L. Bernstein brilliantly chronicles the intellectual revolution that changed everything. He masterfully traces how thinkers, from Renaissance gamblers to modern statisticians, developed the tools of probability and risk management, transforming our ability to understand, measure, and even profit from uncertainty. This captivating narrative reveals how the audacious shift from accepting fate to calculating risk became the bedrock of modern commerce, science, and the world as we know it. Here are 6 lessons from the book that we can learn. Bernstein's central thesis is that the ability to measure and manage risk is a defining characteristic of modern civilization, allowing us to move beyond a world governed by fate and superstition. Lesson 1. The shift from fate to probability, understanding the unpredictable. Historically, the future was seen as predetermined by gods or an inscrutable fate. Events were either divine blessings or punishments. The book traces how thinkers gradually moved away from this deterministic view to one where outcomes, while uncertain, could be quantified and understood through probabilities. This shift was revolutionary, empowering humans to make informed decisions rather than passively accepting their lot. Example: before probability, if a ship sank, it was an act of God. After the development of probability, insurance companies could calculate the likelihood of a ship sinking based on historical data, weather patterns, and ship quality. This allowed them to set premiums, manage risk, and provide financial security, transforming global trade from a purely speculative venture into a more manageable one. Lesson 2. The power of quantification, turning uncertainty into measurable data. A core theme is how the act of assigning numbers to uncertainty, whether it's the odds of a coin flip, the lifespan of a person, or the likelihood of an investment succeeding, transformed our ability to reason about the future. By quantifying risk, it becomes a problem that can be analyzed, debated, and potentially mitigated rather than an unmanageable mystery. Example: early actuaries, like Edmund Halley of Halley's Comet fame, used birth and death records from Breslau to create the first life tables. By quantifying the probability of death at different ages, they laid the groundwork for life insurance, allowing individuals to protect their families financially against an event, death, that was previously only understood as an abstract certainty, not a quantifiable risk. Lesson 3. The importance of data and observation, learning from the past to predict the future. The book emphasizes that the development of risk management wasn't just theoretical, it was deeply rooted in the collection and analysis of empirical data. From early gamblers observing dice rolls to statisticians collecting census data, the ability to systematically record and learn from past events was crucial for developing reliable probabilistic models. Example: the emergence of card games and dice games in the Renaissance provided fertile ground for early probability theorists like Cardano and Pascal. By observing countless games, they began to identify patterns and develop mathematical rules that could predict outcomes, moving beyond mere luck to a scientific understanding of chance. This empirical approach laid the foundation for modern statistics. Lesson 4. The human element, overcoming bias and illusion in decision-making. While the book celebrates the triumph of rational analysis, it also subtly highlights the persistent human tendencies to misinterpret probabilities, succumb to biases, like overconfidence or the gambler's fallacy, and seek certainty where none exists. Even with sophisticated tools, human judgment remains critical and often flawed. Example: the South Sea bubble of the 18th century, though not directly a probability failure, serves as an example of how speculative fervor and irrational exuberance can override rational assessment of risk. Despite the lack of quantifiable value in the company's ventures, people bought shares based on hope and the greater fool theory, leading to a catastrophic collapse. This illustrates how human psychology can still dominate even when the tools for rational risk assessment are available. Lesson 5. Risk as opportunity, the engine of progress. Bernstein argues that the ability to manage risk isn't about eliminating it, but about understanding it well enough to take calculated risks. Progress, innovation, and wealth creation are inherently linked to taking chances. By developing tools to assess and mitigate risk, societies become more willing to invest in new ventures, explore new territories, and embrace change. Example: venture capital, a modern financial innovation, is a prime example. Investors know that most startups will fail, high risk. However, by understanding the probabilities, diversifying their portfolio across many startups, and carefully vetting ideas, they can manage that risk. The few successful ventures generate immense returns, driving technological advancement and economic growth, which would be impossible if all risk was avoided. Lesson 6. The continuous evolution of risk management, a never-ending challenge. The book concludes by showing that risk management is not a solved problem, but an ongoing process. As societies and technologies evolve, new forms of risk emerge, requiring new tools and approaches. The quest to understand and manage uncertainty is a continuous intellectual and practical challenge. Example: the rise of complex financial derivatives and global interconnectedness in the late 20th and early 21st centuries, e.g. the 2008 financial crisis, demonstrated how new forms of systemic risk can emerge, challenging existing risk models and regulations. This highlights that while we've come a long way from relying on fate, the understanding and management of risk remain dynamic and require constant adaptation. Conclusion: the book Against the Gods concludes that humanity's ability to measure and manage risk is a pivotal intellectual achievement, freeing us from fate and driving progress. While we've gained powerful tools, the book emphasizes that risk remains inherent. True success lies in our continuous, informed engagement with uncertainty, not its elimination.